Steve calling in from Nebraska. Steve, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Yeah, hey, Dan and Dr. Blitz. Happy weekend, everyone. Thanks for allowing us this opportunity to discuss a recently published paper titled The Spider Stellar Engine, a fully steerable extraterrestrial design, authored by astronomer Dr. Clement Goodall, that claims binary star system PSR-J-1641-8049, which consists of a millisecond pulsar, a lower mass companion star, is deaccelerating due to an artificially generated force induced perhaps by electromagnetically charged Dyson ring or magnetic cell around the orbital plane of the pulsar, whereby the pulsar stellar wind is being redirected in order to reduce the irradiation of the pulsar's companion star, resulting in the reduction of the stellar system's propellant thrust, thereby slowing down the travel velocity of the star system on approach towards close encounter with another star system purposed for replenishing the depleted energy resources of binary star system PSR J1641-8049.
All right. Okay. I feel, Dr. Blitz, you got to start writing this stuff on your blackboard here, because I'm having trouble keeping up with this call. Let's slow down a minute, Steve. Let's get everybody on the same page here. First of all, Blitz, do you understand what's happening? Do you understand what he's talking about here?
So it seems like what's happening is that there is a fairly nearby star that has some strange, my guess is spectroscopic signals. And one potential explanation is extraterrestrial design. Am I understanding that properly, Steve?
Well, there's this pulsar that is slowing down, and I think according to the law of inertia, right, an object that tends to stay in motion will remain in motion unless there's an outside force counteracting that, right? And in space, what's there to slow down a pulsar?
Yeah, so
well, there's nothing.
I mean, in general,
there's no natural forces, so therefore aliens, right? Aliens are driving.
Oh,
we can see this.
There are probably more
pulsar slowing down.
There are probably less exotic solutions, and I would be remiss if I pulled up the paper, but I haven't read the paper. I would be very, very surprised if the authors didn't propose other possible explanations as well. Most responsible physicists, most responsible astronomers, when they say anything about extraterrestrials, usually in their discussion or conclusion section, they'll say, it could be X, Y, Z, A, B, C, or maybe aliens. And so, but it's the aliens that catch the headlines.
Well, I'm not going to just right away say, hey, even though this looks like it could be aliens, but I'm not going to jump the gun and say, maybe, perhaps it's possible they need to observe this more. It could be a measurement error. I've seen that happen, right? That's a possibility. And maybe this isn't slowing down in the way that they think. So they need to do further observations. And I want James Webb Telescope to take a look at this, because if this is slowing down on approach to another star system, that's awfully peculiar, right?
Well, so if it's a pulsars emit radio waves. So James Webb won't really be able to tell you much, unless it's also emitting, I guess, in the infrared, which, it could be depending on what it is and depending on what's nearby. But yeah, look, this seems to have come out, a few months ago. So sure, it very well could be a legitimate signal, probably warrants further investigation. But, I would be very, very careful to make any sort of assessments about aliens just yet.
Okay, well, there's further evidence of extraterrestrial technological signatures. The fast radio burst designated as FRB 2024-0, I believe 0209A, are apparently artificially generated radio beams used in propelling an ancient alien starship light sails, rather than these fast radio bursts.
Steve, according to who? Wait, who's saying that these are artificially generated bursts that are powering solar sails?
And Morris of Langham. Avi Loeb had predicted the frequency at which a signal would radiate. And this.
So here's the thing about Avi-Loeb.
Happening at that frequency.
Here's the thing about Avi-Loeb. Avi-Loeb is a very well-respected scientist. The other thing about Avi-Loeb is that he sometimes has very fringe theories that go nowhere, and he really, really likes aliens. So, like, if you read any of his papers and they're not about aliens, totally well regarded. You should absolutely read them. They're generally very well written. If it mentions aliens in the paper, maybe give it a little bit more of a grain of salt, if you will.
Okay, well, the source of this FRB, this fast radio, supposed fast radio burst, has been point-pinned to the distant edge of an ancient galaxy where magnetars can no longer exist. And since February 2024, FRB 2024-0209 has been detected reoccurring on 22 separate occasions by the Canadian Hydrogen Intensity Mapping Experiment radio telescopes. This signal's reoccurring nature implies that this is not caused by a rapid one-time event such as gravitational collapse or collision of neutron stars. However, FRB 2024-0209A radiates at the optimal frequency for light cell propulsion, as proposed by Avi-Loeb's research article titled "Fast Radio Bursts from Intergalactic Light Cells," published in Astrophysical Journal Letters on 2 January 2017. Hence, this is indeed probably likely of technologically advanced extraterrestrial origin. So we have these technical signatures of these. You
got to be really careful. You have to be super careful with any claims with probably. I mean, maybe it is, but you have to be super skeptical of these things because one data signal for a particular source will never be enough to confirm extraterrestrial intelligence, right? You'll need multiple different corroborating pieces of data that are independent and point to the same thing. Then maybe you're right. I mean, look, the universe is probably not empty, but generally it's believed to be pretty sparsely populated. So just be a little bit skeptical about these kinds of things. Avi-Loeb tends to write a lot about aliens. He's been wrong a lot. He thought that Oumuamua was an alien spacecraft. He thought that there was alien pebbles at the bottom of the ocean. He's made a lot of claims before, and he's a theorist. So he comes up with theories, and as our job as theorists is to come up with wacky theories that are potentially good explanations, but that doesn't mean they're always right.
Yeah, and Steve, I believe you called in a week or two ago also talking about Avi-Loeb because you mentioned about the meteorite that they supposedly found that was also like alien in origin. And I did some more reading after you called me about that and found that the way that they did that was he paid $1 million for these submarines to get drag nets across the bottom of the ocean. And they found this one piece, which other reputable scientists say is ash, and not actually from space or extraterrestrial origin at all. But the claim was that not only is this extraterrestrial origin, but it happened to be a fragment of the meteorite that he was looking for, which is, I got to say, pretty preposterous when you understand how big the ocean is and how small of an actual area. It was like a 10-kilometer square mile area, which is like, in ocean terms, nothing. So you seem to put a lot of stock for Avi-Loeb, Steve. I don't know. He seems to have captured your imagination.
He's got vials of the remnants of this interstellar one meteor, and it's been tested, and it's extremely rich in beryllium, lanthanum, and uranium, hundreds of times more than what you find on an Earth rock or anything like it in our solar system. And the fact that it's heavy in beryllium is important because what happens is a process called I think it's called something like spladium, where it's chipped out from the where the heavier elements are chipped out, or beryllium, the beryllium's chipped out from the nuclei of heavier elements by the impact of high energy cosmic rays. And in our solar system, we're protected by the solar wind, but in interstellar space, this is going to happen. So this material he has is clearly outside from our solar system,
It would be if I guess
got the smoking gun evidence for the chariots of the alien sky gods.
I guess if you believe everything he says to be true, yeah, but I have trouble, and other people who have more research than I am, who've examined that evidence, also have trouble believing those claims. Blitz, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah. So the thing that you were looking to try to the thing that you said was you were talking about spallation, known as nuclear spallation.
Thank you. I didn't know what it was called. Yeah, that's it.
So nuclear spallation occurs, just for those who don't know. Nuclear spallation occurs when you have a cosmic ray, which is like just a particle coming from space that hits a big heavy atom, and then it breaks apart the nucleus. And so usually it'll knock off like a small chunk of that nucleus. So you'll get like a helium atom knocked off, or a helium nucleus knocked off, or sometimes beryllium nucleus knocked off. The thing is this happens on the surface of Earth all the time, because we have cosmic rays all the time hitting Earth. In fact, there's a process called cosmogenic radionuclide dating, or nuclide dating, which basically relies on the fact that this is a process that happens on the surface of the Earth. So you have cosmic rays that hit rocks on the surface of the Earth that makes them radioactive, and then we can date how long they've been decaying. And this is a useful way to figure out how old the surface of the Earth is. But importantly, this is the thing that happens on the surface of the Earth. So to say that it can only happen in interstellar space is just not true.
Okay, but the remnants of this extraterrestrial space junk that Avi Loeb had recovered was dated because it has isotope ratios of uranium and I believe lead. So they're able to date this, radiometric date this, and this dates to an age older than the solar system itself. This material Avi Loeb has is clearly beyond our solar system. It is unlike anything seen in our solar system. And this looks to me like it's somebody else's space junk that somehow found its way here before crashing into Earth.
Again, like, I think we kind of already talked about this. Like, there's just people that really contest the idea that the dating methods used for that particular chunk were accurate. I read several criticisms of the exact work that Avi Loeb did for that, and why it's most likely not what he claims it to be at all. And to be honest, that's what I have to go off of, right? I haven't seen it myself. I'm certainly not qualified to look at it, even if I did have it in front of me. I just wonder, Steve, why is it that you're so convinced that this guy absolutely has to be telling the truth about all of this stuff when numerous people have already come forward and rightfully criticized some of the claims that he's made with this? Because you seem very, very convinced that this is it.
He's going to come out with a paper countering his criticisms. And I understand he's going to, I hope he does a GoFundMe for another expedition, so we can get more pieces of this wreckage. It is a small sample size. I think they do need to collect a larger sample of this space junk from beyond our solar system and see exactly what's going on here. So I hope he gets that work done.
But like you're saying, he's going to write a paper to counter the criticisms. So, but like, you haven't heard, like, what are the counters to his criticisms? Like, are you saying that all of these critics are wrong? Like, is that your take? Like, why do you believe him over not believing him?
Because he's the one that has the material. He's the one that's tested it, looked at it. So he would, but he has the firsthand evidence. He's got possession of this, and I would like to see it independently confirmed, of course. So this is just material I think that was just recently recovered. So he probably wants time to go over and look it over, and then I'm confident he'll have it independently examined. But I don't think that's been done yet. This is all new news.
I guess that's fair, Steve.
For less than a year.
I don't know. How many times does somebody have to be wrong about something before you start to not trust them, though? Right? Like, I think it's
he only has to be right once. If he's right once, and we are not alone. We have there are advanced extraterrestrial things, and then another signal. How do you explain that within our genetic code, all the amino acids that can be sufficiently defined by their codon's first and second base nucleotides, when you take their computational atomic masses and you factor out 37, you get a perfect mathematical expression of an Egyptian triangle. And that's in the wow signal of the terrestrial.
Aliens, Steve. I mean, it got to be aliens.
DNA.
Yeah. No, that's it.
What is an Egyptian triangle?
Yeah. What's an Egyptian triangle?
Yeah. Okay. It is a right angle, 90-degree triangle with ratios of 3, 4, and 5. And if you take the core,
that's a Pythagorean triangle.
Yeah.
And you take their atomic masses, and you take the core component, the side component, and the total atomic masses, and you factor out 37. You get 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. In our
Steve, we're out of time. I'm sorry. This is a whole other topic of discussion. And you know what? When we have a biologist on, they can argue with you about, the codons and stuff. And I'd like to hear it then. But I've got all the time I got for you now today, unless Blitz, you had anything else you wanted to add before
I don't even know what a codon is.
Yeah,
I do.
Different field study, right? We're not even on the same thing anymore. But Steve, next time you can call in and we can talk more about that. I would Google motivated reasoning. Good advice. Because I think that's kind of what's happening here. I think you started with the conclusion that aliens are definitely a thing. And if you look at the world through that lens, yeah, you're absolutely going to find some stuff. But I just don't know if that's the best way to know true things, right? I think that's the fairest thing I can say. I don't know. What did you think about that call?
Look, I think that there are probably other things that are alive in our universe. I don't think that we're alone. But I think that Steve will probably be a bit disappointed when we find out that the first non-Earth life that we find will probably be bacteria.
Yeah. That's something that we've talked about on this show a lot. It's probably going to be really small and probably not too complex. But hey, I guess, anything's possible, right? You only got to be right once. That's an interesting way to look at the world.
It's true, though.
It's true, but that's not a great way to live your life. I don't know.
No, it's not.
I don't think so. Like L. Ron Hubbard, I don't think he could be right about like one thing. I don't need to hear everything else he's got to say. You know what I mean? Like, don't think that's going to be good for my life. I think you could say that about a lot of people.